afternoon. I'm Joan Hogan, welcoming you to the Prairie Doc Radio program. Rick Holm, our Prairie Doc, is in the studio ready to answer your questions of a medical nature. Dr. Holm's specialty is internal medicine. He's a physician with the Avera Medical Group Brookings, a clinical professor at the University of South Dakota's Sanford School of Medicine, and also is an affiliation with the South Dakota State University. Dr. Holm conducts medical research with them. Good morning, Dr. Holm.
Good morning, Joan Hogan.
And I'm so happy to have a gentleman you know well, but I just met this morning, Kyle Hain. Kyle Hain is a graduate research assistant at South Dakota State University, and he's also an editorial consultant with the Healing Words Foundation.
Yes.
Do you want to explain that one? Well, welcome, Kyle.
Well,
Good to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, tell us about what your project is. You need to get closer to the microphone.
Are you talking about my project with you or at SDSU?
At your project with me.
Okay, so basically I'm just assisting Rick in his newest book. It's a book on caring for your aging parents and just full of a bunch of stories and helpful tips on how to age well in a society that's making it, we're getting older and people need this kind of information. So
yeah, that's it. So we're working heartily on this new book. Since you've been able to finish your master's thesis, and you're all done now?
yeah, I've got about a week left.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've defended my thesis and everything else is done. It's just I've got a few loose ends to tie up and.
Yeah, defending your thesis. That's always a good way of putting it.
Well, it's a nerve-wracking thing. I had to do it years back. Defending your thesis, you have 5 to 8 people in front of you asking questions.
Ours, for the master's thesis, we only had 4 people on my committee.
Okay.
But the presentation, I think there was about 35 to 40
Oh,
people there.
My.
And then they take you away into a room and just them.
Take you away.
Take
Oh,
you
yeah.
away.
Right after, so for about 2.5 hours, I just
Defended.
it was a defense. I don't think I did terribly well, but they still gave me my degree. So.
Yeah. Well, before we take the break, what is your thesis showing? I mean, what is the...
Oh my gosh, it's the use of a recombinant parapox virus to express the spike protein of porcine epidemic diarrhea virus.
No, we all got that.
It's a
didn't we?
swine vaccine, basically.
It's a slime...
Swine.
Swine, that's
Swine.
swine. Swine.
Basically using one virus to vaccinate against another.
Oh.
So it's kind of, yeah.
And it's a diarrhea illness in swine.
Yeah.
Wow.
An epidemic diarrhea illness.
Is it now an epidemic right now? I mean, is it...
It just recently emerged in the United States in like 2013, and it's still causing a lot of issues, but...
Pig diarrhea.
Yeah.
Jeepers.
We don't even want to know about that, but we're really glad that you developed a vaccine. That's wonderful, and you defended it. We're going to take our break. We're not going to be talking about pigs or their excrements during this
Thank
program,
goodness.
thank goodness,
Well.
but we're very happy to have Kyle with us, and we will be discussing Dr. Holm's book in progress, and we'll be back right after these words. Prairie Doc Radio, happy to have you listening, and Dr. Holm is here, and he really wanted to discuss his book in progress today, and so he brought in his editorial assistant, Kyle Hain, who's a graduate research assistant at South Dakota State and just finished a master's program. He hasn't gotten the actual award yet, but boy, he's all done,
Right.
except for the screaming and yelling.
So are you going to do any more pig poop?
You weren't going to talk about that.
I thought. Any more work on that particular project?
No more pig poop experiments.
Okay.
All
No
right.
more. I'm just helping out. My advisor was gone for a few weeks. Back to Brazil is where he's from. He hasn't been there in 5 years, so I told him I'd stick around and help out with the lab stuff until he got back. So
There it is. And is that going to end up as a real vaccine that they'll be using?
Not quite sure. The platform for the vaccine, this was kind of a proof of concept experiment that we were doing. but the vector itself that we're using, the virus that's delivering the vaccine, has a lot of potential. So that we might see that implemented in use in the future.
Right. It might take a while to get there.
Yeah, might be commercialized. We don't know. This is kind of just to experimentally prove it.
Beginning, bottom line stuff before it
Mhm.
gets further. And then, what's your plans for the long-term future?
Oh gosh, I wish I knew the answer to that question. Right now, I think I'm going to go work in the industry for a little bit, kind of put my master's degree to good use, but I've also still got an interest in attending medical school. So while I'm working in the industry, I'm going to take my MCAT and then apply and see where I'm at in 1-2 years.
Okay. And working in the industry means what?
Well, either go and work for some vaccine development company, or I'd really like to do cancer research as well. Or I might get put at an institution where I work as a technician
Okay.
and work in their laboratory and basically just kind of use the skills that I acquired during my master's degree.
Biology is your background, or your
Yeah.
strength?
Yeah, with a focus. That's what my master's was in, but with a focus in virology. So.
All right.
Okay.
Well, it's nice to have such a brilliant young man
Well, a
interested in going to med school,
man, a man
too.
Thank
who
you.
knows where to put commas.
Oh, he does. Oh, back to the book.
Huh?
You don't do commas
Yeah.
very well.
That's a
huh?
wonderful transition there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great transition.
No, I mean, that you write this stuff, and then you give it to Kyle, and Kyle goes over and says, "I don't understand what you're talking about here. You've got to clarify that you're not letting older people die, and that you as a doctor aren't demanding and controlling the end of the life care. It's the family. Make sure that that's clear. Oh, and that word doesn't work. And why would you end with this particular prayer on a comment about the end of life, that it's not appropriate at this time? Those kinds of things. And it's one of the I love that prayer, and ooh, I like that particular word, and okay, so
Got to cut it out.
cut it out.
Because Kyle told you it didn't make sense.
So I mean, here you run it past a guy who has science base, and if it's that's what we're doing. What's your comment about what I just said?
Well, no, I agree. It's just we've been working together on the book, and then also as a Prairie Doc assistant for about 2 years now, and I've just gotten to really know how. I mean, everybody listening has probably seen the Prairie Doc on call with the Prairie Doc, so they understand your essay on each show, and basically you've got a bunch of really good stories, and you like to deliver them, and I kind of know where Rick is coming from, so when I help him edit, I basically try and put what his ideas are, and then put them into more of a, not such a weekly delivered essay, but help him transition that into more of a readable format. To put into a book, because he's got some really great stories, and I know a lot of people would like to read them.
My idea was originally to do the essays, just pile essay, probably have 5 essays per chapter. And the thrust of the essays, kind of fills the chapter's plan. And Kyle said, no, you want to write it into a book. And our oldest son, Eric, said, no, you want to put it into a book form. And we put it in front of a pre-agent writing expert, and she said, no, you've got to put it into a book form. And so
your original idea was downed by just about everybody you presented it to?
Kyle was the first to tell me, and I said no. And after everybody
Agreed
slapped
with
me
Kyle.
around the room, pummeled me this way and that, I ended up saying, okay, it's going to be in a book form. And yes.
I had to be careful when I first started working with Rick, because we have such a good relationship going, and I just wanted to tell him, when I start working with you, I might make comments and things that are not necessarily ones that you want to hear, and you just, I don't mean any of these personally. I know as an experience, I've done a lot of writing, I've taken a lot of English classes, and from experience, I know that writing is really personal, and that's not. Anything that I make as a comment is not a personal attack, and so.
But it's hard, if you ever give your stuff to an editorial, a revisionist. What would you call you?
Editorial.
No, you would.
No.
It's
Myself?
Yeah.
A consulting editor. Editorial consultant.
Editorial consultant. You put it, and somebody revises what you say. It's hard not to take it personal. And you know, I've been able to write those essays that are at the end of the show for 14 years.
Without anyone telling you anything wrong with them. They
Well,
just
my wife,
like them. Your
my
wife
wife has
will.
been my best editorial.
Thank God Joni's there for you, right?
No, you can't say that.
But overall, you've
Overall.
pretty well just your own language, and you've gotten it across, and it's been fine. And now you're actually writing a book rather than a group of essays. So it's quite a bit different, and you needed someone like Kyle to get you through it.
No. And we have, I took a 1-week course in Boston, under the auspices of Harvard, on how to get published medically, how to write medical and get published. And it had to do with writing science journals, getting published in a journal, or how to write, if you're a physician or a nurse or a pharmacist or whatever, to write whatever kind of book you might want. And the person who led it, a woman, Silverman, a doctor, a physician,
Not the comedian?
not
Oh, good. Okay.
was great, and she really kind of guided you on how to write a book proposal, and that's what we're doing right now, is writing a book proposal, having 2 sample chapters, having summaries of each chapter, and outline, you know, that type of a thing, and about the author comments, and then the introductory, a couple pages of introduction.
Kind of just let people know what the book's about. It's basically it's the pitch that you want to make to your any type of publishing company.
Right.
As to get your, the synopsis why you should publish our book.
Are there agents that you can reach out to that deal mainly with medical?
Right.
books?
Actually, I gave a 3-minute pitch at this meeting 5 years ago, and then they rated me. Well, I got pretty good ratings, but the one who gave me the best rating was Martha, the woman who is a pre-agent, and then I got pretty good ratings from an agent, and I saved those. And then when the time came that I was into the book, I sent a picture of their review of my writing to each of them. And they
Just
went,
to
"Oh,
remind them.
now I remember. That's my words. That's my writing. That's my signature. That's the numbers,
Right.
that I gave you to call me." And so it wasn't out of the blue. It was from this book thing. It gave me first push. And Martha took the book on, and so she's been helping Kyle and me, putting it. Reviewing one more time, writing it over one more time, and helping us get it so that when we have the book proposal done, we can give it to this other agent, the agent that gave us a good review.
I had no idea until about 10 years ago the importance of an agent in reaching out to a publisher.
Right.
Just publishers, can you imagine what they get in the mail every day?
Oh.
Just out of the blue, people sending all this stuff. I'll bet
They
9/10 of it never gets read.
Oh.
But if an agent presents it, they respect this agent, and
There it is.
you need that middle person. Pity, tough. Well, we are going to take a break. If you want to know more about publishing, we'll be back right after these words. At 692-1430 during this discussion. However, before we get to, or while we're waiting possibly for your question, we are discussing Dr. Holmes' venture into publishing.
So let's talk about content. Really, I think that people will be more interested in what the book is about than that. And I've talked about it before, but Kyle, I'd like you to kind of summarize.
Well, I'd have to say that the easiest part of my job is that one of the most difficult things when you're writing is to find an original idea or find the content. And what's made my job extremely easy is that Rick has years and years and years of experience and stories that he has to share. So all the content's already there, just about all these wonderful medical stories and about how to age gracefully, how to just not even necessarily about aging gracefully or about end-of-life care, but about just living a healthier life, not just physically, but spiritually, mentally, all sorts of things. This is a great book for people of any age because, as we're all going to get older, God willing, and we're all going to deal with people that are older, so.
Right, and originally, one of the doctors came up to me and he said, Rick, you should write a book on how to take care of your elderly parent. And so that was the original theme. But actually, it's the people who are going to buy it are the boomers, the baby boomers who are aging. Some of them may have elderly parents, very elderly parents, I can say. But some of them may also be the elderly parent and will give that book to their kids.
Good
But
point.
it talks about how to write a living will, talking about the value of communicating that to your kids rather than just writing the will.
I guess we should say that, it's more than just about aging as well. There's one of the things that I know Martha said was the most appealing was the idea of this prairie doc and this Midwestern medicine and these, people that grew up on farms and how the hard work and, close-knit families had a really big impact on their health, mental, physical, spiritual. So, something about that Midwestern medicine kind of thing.
Right, and one of the things that we started with is, I sent her the essay and it was the hook, and she said this should be the center of the book, and everything should refer back to the Indian prayer. And the Indian prayer is, if you look at the medicine wheel, there's a lot of different versions of it, but the version I have used is really from Emil Redfish, my dear friend who is a PA, and who was a PA probably in the very first group of PAs that were trained, in that first year or two. He had been an X-ray tech, and he has been a PA caring for patients through Arlington, and is actually the mayor of Arlington at this point.
Is he
And-
now?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
He's still a mayor. He's
Oh.
been the mayor of Arlington for 20 years. And here
That's
he is,
phenomenal.
Native American man,
Full practice with his
and
physician assistant.
living with all those Norwegians, Germans,
in Arlington.
in Arlington, and they keep voting him in. And of course, there's controversy all along the way, but they love him there, and rightfully so. They should love him. But here's the Indian prayer. The Indian prayer is around the medical circle, and the Indian circle is established thousands of years ago. We have a 2,000-year-old medicine circle in Wyoming that's still there. And it's almost like, and it's rocks around a great big circle, and in the center is the fire. And, the prayer starts toward the east, which is the sunrise, the beginning, the early, the child, the baby, the infant, the color yellow, the beginning, the very beginning of life. And then you pray south toward the summer. The east is spring, south is summer, red, young warrior, and Indian maid. You pray to the west, which is the color black, autumn, the chief, the medicine woman, the wisdom of knowing that war is dangerous and tough, and death can occur, and you're lucky if you can stay alive. And then you pray to the north, which is the color white, age, wisdom, winter, the sense of the value of all, the recycling, and then you pray up to the Father, the sky, the sun, and then you pray down to Mother Earth, and that's the Indian prayer. It's a beautiful metaphor for life, and to look north, where everything is white, winter is occurring, is to not say that okay, now I'm done. No, it's a cycle. It's a circle.
And they respect the wisdom of the older. And that's the white too, is the wisdom. So
Yeah,
it's
the
not
wisdom.
the end, you're even wiser as you get older.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Kyle,
Yeah.
your comment about
It's just like spokes on the wheel of life. Just as it goes round,
it goes around.
It's a beautiful. I really like it. I thought it was one of the better
Metaphors.
analogies. Yeah, for that for the aging process. So
So that's kind of where we're going with the book, and we start with how to stay healthy, and we evolve into making plans, and then the last chapters are about the end of life and accepting your own death, actually.
Well, I'm looking forward to the completion of the book. I really like to read it. I think it'll be well received, and especially with the help that you're getting from Kyle. We're going to take a final break. If you have any comments on the book or any questions, give us a call at 692-1430, and we'll be back right after these words.
Clear?
Well, we need to talk about West Nile, because
It's big.
There
And
was a
tomorrow's
horse diagnosed with it
here in this...
Minnesota.
Yeah.
oh man,
How about
Maybe
cardiology tomorrow night?
What?
Do you know who's on the show tomorrow night? Cardiology?
Oh, is it cardiology?
Yeah.
I think it's Hibbert.
I
Hibbert?
can actually break out my West Nile notes. I have them in my backpack from virology.
What's that?
I said
West
I have my
Nile?
West Nile notes in my backpack. Virology.
Well, I'll ask you about it.
Don't, please don't.
Without his
I would say
notes, he
a
can't
test kit
talk.
That you could do a simple, like a cheek swab. It would let you know whether you've had it and don't have to worry about contracting it.
Yeah.
It was-
Well, the
think-
mosquitoes
I've
are
been bitten
really
by a lot of
prevalent.
mosquitoes.
Have to be
Yeah.
antibodies, unfortunately.
We went for a beautiful walk last night at the
Five.
lake.
They got you?
They got us.
3, 2, 1, and we are back.
Welcome back to Prairie Doc Radio. We just have a few minutes remaining. Dr. Holm is here, and with him is his grad student, Kyle Hain, who's been helping with his book.
Yeah, I could call him my grad student.
Yes.
But
Well, he is
not
a grad,
officially.
not just officially
Unofficial
yours, but
student of Prairie
Unofficial.
Wisdom and Medicine.
Oh, yeah.
there you go. Prairie Wisdom. Maybe that should be the name of the book. Prairie Wisdom.
Prairie wisdom.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
The Prairie Shaman,
Yeah.
Dr. Rick.
Charlatan? Charlatan? No.
Shaman.
Not charlatan.
No,
Okay,
no.
no. Shaman.
Well,
Much
that's
better.
chapter 3 is all about medicine and falling and the danger of too much medicine. And there's a chapter on herbs and spices. The whole thing is kind of fun to crank through that. And then we have Q&A in the end of the each chapter. You know. So we have a question.
Well, it shouldn't be humorous. Sir, I'm very sorry. I just found, it struck me as a little humorous. For you, it isn't. A 65-year-old man called, and he's concerned about an odor that comes from wax in his ears. I
Right.
shouldn't laugh, but that, for him, I wouldn't be happy if I had an odor emanating from my ears.
Well, there's no question about the wax is a result of debrided cells, the skin of the lining of the canal, the oil of the skin. So it's skin, you know. It's all skin, and the skin sloughs, and it attaches to the oil. And there's little cilia that say, move out, come this way. But some of our cilia is not as good as it should be. And sometimes it gets, we shed more skin than we can, and it gets wax filled and packed. If you're ramming Q-tips in there, you're going
You're
to pack.
pushing it in further, right? Not a good idea.
They say the smallest thing you should put into your ear canal is your elbow until you're 95, said Dr. Warren, my old Warren Jones. And so that is probably something you should follow. Problem is it's old tissue, and so it can rot. We all have our own body odor that can become
Offensive.
greater if the tissue is packed in there. And my answer for the gentleman is to put more oil in it so it'll dissolve and drain out on your pillow at night, you know. And if you don't have a lot of it in there, then it's not going to be malodorous. But you don't want to try to rinse anything. I mean, you're going to have your own tissue, and so I'd live with it. But I try to clear out the wax by using earwax softener. You can buy it over the counter, or you can use olive oil, you can do mineral oil, you can put any kind of oil in there, and it'll dissolve.
So if you kind of
drain that stuff.
if you turn sideways and fill the one ear with oil and sit like that for a while and let it stay in the ear, is that what you're suggesting?
What I suggest is you put a drop or two of oil in your left ear tonight, and then you lay on your right ear when you go to bed and sleep. And then tomorrow
Reverse
night,
it.
you put it in your right ear, and then you lay on your left side when you go to bed. Of course, you're going to toss all over the place, and you're going to have earwax on your pillow, and that's okay.
The only situation I'm personally familiar with is our daughter, when she was around 10, was almost, I thought she was losing her hearing, took her to Dr. Pat, our darling Dr. Pat,
Yes.
and he actually had the nurse, what would you do, put liquid in and just the wax started pouring out. The poor kid wasn't deaf, she was...
Wax filled.
Yeah, wax filled. Would you
Yeah.
suggest anything like that, to go to a doctor and remove it?
Occasionally, people will come in with this, or you'll see that it's really dried and hard and packed.
And hard to get out.
And they're uncomfortable. And you can take a water pick, which I use for my teeth. Turn it down to low, and then use the water pick and lean them over a tub and use the water pick. But you gotta be a little careful with that. Now, if you go to the not the hardware store, but the drugstore, they'll have a bulb syringe or a syringe that you can jet wash into the ear. But they suggest, and we generally do this at the clinic, is you put in the earwax softener first for
Okay.
a day or two, soften it up, and then use the bulbs or the syringe. and
Well, I was
spray
just
it on.
thinking if he didn't have success himself, he could check with his doctor and maybe get it done at the clinic.
And when that doesn't work, you go in, Dr. Reitz goes in there and suctions it all out of there.
So you'll have an answer for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
One
hope
of,
that's
one of,
helpful
one
to
of my
you.
old roommates, he worked at he was an engineer, and he worked at a steel plant, and he constantly wore earplugs, and he went into the annual physical there, and they actually manually had to remove because he kept sticking earplugs into his ear and kept packing
Packing
it
it
deep,
in.
and they
Oh.
actually pulled out a giant glob of
Glob
earwax,
of
and he's like,
wax,
"Oh,
yeah.
I can hear so much better, but it was one of the most disgusting things
Oh,
that ever
it would-
happened.
it would be
It hurt
gross.
so bad."
Oh,
Well,
doesn't
we're
sound
done,
good.
aren't we?
Well, we are done. We appreciate you listening today, and we hope you have enjoyed our Prairie Doc radio program, and we'll listen again for Prairie Doc, brought to you by the Avera Medical Group Brookings. You know you can always hear and see more from Dr. Holm online at prairiedoc.org. Thanks for joining us today, and thank you, Kyle, for being with us. Rick, that's all till next week.
Thank you, Joan, and
Thank
don't forget watch the show tomorrow night on Heart.
What time?
7 o'clock, South Dakota Public Broadcasting. And thank you, Bob. Thanks again, Kyle. And Joan,
Thanks for having me.
stay healthy out there, people.